What is up, everyone? It's your host, Carlos Ponce here. And today we have. Hello, Kevin. I'm sorry, folks. We had a little connectivity glitch, right? How unfortunate. But hey, well, it's the beauty of doing these things live is that you never know what's going to happen, what's in store for us, right? So we need to figure things out on the fly, which is what I did right now. So I apologize, folks. But anyway, thank you, Kevin, for being so gracious as putting up with this.
I didn't know if I was supposed to do a song and dance while I was
here. No, actually, I was offline, so I couldn't. There's no way I could communicate. So thank you. But folks, if you're watching this, in the recorded version, we're going to be trimming all of this out, right? So don't worry about that. So let's start all over again. So okay, so what I was saying, folks, is that we're live. We got Kevin Lyons. He's the president and managing partner of Foodbridge with us today. And I'm going to let him introduce himself in a minute. So by the way, if you are just discovering us, Advancio Talks, well, welcome. If you've been here since the beginning, since 2022, well, you know what we are about. And so whether you're drinking coffee or you're commuting or just curious about what's actually happening in tech, stick around. Kevin has got some stories and insights you won't find anywhere else. So, Kevin, thanks for joining us. And well, hello again.
Yeah.
And thanks for joining us on the show, Kevin. So, please, can you introduce yourself to begin with for you, for the audience?
Sure. So I appreciate, by the way, super excited to be here with you today, Carlos, and
my pleasure.
About my favorite subject, talking about Foodbridge and all the wonderful work that we're doing out there. But a little bit about me, I come from an unrelated area somewhat to Foodbridge. I'm a 25-year veteran in retail. I've run companies in spaces like home shopping to consumer electronics, leading e-commerce operations for some pretty big brands, Best Buy, Sears, H.H. Gregg, etc. And my background is that I have a passion for food insecurity. I came from food insecurity, and it's always been a passion of mine. In fact, when we were at Shop LC and I ran that company based out of Austin, Texas, we actually had a 1-for-1 program where we raised meals for Akshapatra in India and US and No Kid Hungry millions of meals, millions of kids that got an opportunity that they otherwise didn't have. And as I moved into consulting as a chief strategy officer for one of our partner companies with Foodbridge, as we transitioned, it was all about how can we, as a product company, find solutions that really matter, right? And that's where Foodbridge came, and it's a passion of mine. And we used our technology, which combines the best in enterprise commerce and conversational AI, to support those who are insecure. Could be food insecurity, which is what we've started with. There are lots of social determinants of health that relate to that we've really done that. So that's a little bit about me. I think people will see links throughout this presentation. If they want to learn more, they can connect with me on LinkedIn, and be happy to tell my story a million times over.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're going to be displaying all your contact info so that whoever's watching and wants to get a hold of you and contact you, they're going to be able to do so. So and that's where we're going to be displaying that in a minute. And thank you for sharing a little bit about you and your background and Foodbridge as well. And well, Kevin, today we're going to be talking about a theme that I think it's very relevant, not only to your industry or to Foodbridge specifically, but to the business world as a whole, right? And we're talking about, I mean, who's not talking about AI these days? AI is all over the place. Sometimes too much. So sometimes way too much for my taste, but hey, can't help it, right? It's just, it is. I mean, it's there and it's here to stay. So it's going to impact a lot of industries, a lot of spaces. And I'm imagining that food access is no exception. So today we're going to be talking about driving AI innovation in food access, or in other words, a digital. You're going to tell us a little bit about your journey as a digital transformation leader, right? So start with that. So, okay. So, Kevin, at Foodbridge, you're launching AI-powered e-commerce solutions for Snap EBT, I think it's pronounced. Did I pronounce it correctly?
EBT? One of the many things that we support, but yeah, that's the kind of the main crux.
Right. For these programs. So, how did you build a technical team capable of tackling such a complex social impact challenge?
Well, I'm a storyteller at heart, Carlos. So I'm going to start with kind of how this all came to be, and then a little bit about how the team came together. Because I think we're a little bit, maybe we're unique, maybe we're not, but at least I think that my journey to digital transformation started a long time ago, because I think that before even digital transformation became a topic, right? There's always been buzzwords in the business world throughout, right? I remember when it was multi-channel, right? Then it was omni-channel, then it was, experience, and then it turned into digital transformation. And digital transformation really, I think, became a strong buzzword during the pandemic, right? As people were thinking about the force to change to digital because they had to. And I think that even before that, right, working for brands, as I mentioned, coming from the retail world, brick and mortar was strong until Amazon came along, right? And then everybody was forced to change. And so people started their own e-commerce sites, including some of the biggest brands that today in Fortune 50 companies. And so really that was digital transformation before that was even a word. And I think that then as I transitioned from the retail world into the consulting world, really it was bringing digital transformation front and center. And our journey to Foodbridge was a transformation of one of the partner companies for Foodbridge today. So Foodbridge was born out of two technology companies, Blue Sky Commerce, which really was an e-commerce consultancy, full service consultancy, and then K-Launch, which is the brand of our conversational AI partner. So I'm the managing partner. We have several partners within Foodbridge. All of them come from one of those two organizations as well. And really it was transforming Blue Sky from a technology implementation and integration company into a product company. And we started talking about, well, what is that product going to look like, right? Another buzzword in the commerce world today is headless commerce, right? Or MOC.
Right.
Right? And so really it was talking about how could we develop, our own storefront, headless storefront, right? To help other folks, right? And at the same time, our partner was K-Launch, was working with some food banks and food pantries with some of their solutions. And it really bore out of a tour of a donut shop, and that was about to open in front of a Walmart. And
a donut shop, like donuts, as in
like selling donuts, like Dunkin' Donuts or Krispy Kreme or any of those, right? So this was more of a regional type donut shop, and they were a client of one of our partners, K-Launch. And the question came up, well, why would you build a donut shop in front of a Walmart, right? Don't they sell donuts? And, the CEO was like, well, have you ever heard of SNAP, right? Which is the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, right? So what people would more commonly attribute to food stamps, right? And so it's now, because everything's digital, SNAP EBT is basically the digital version of food stamps, right? Every state has this program. And SNAP is a use it or lose it platform, meaning that once you apply for benefits for SNAP and you get approved for a certain dollar amount each month to support you, your family, whatever that may be, is that if you don't use that allotment for the month, it does not carry over to the next month. And so the philosophy for a lot of these retailers, like the donut shop, right, or some of these rural kind of placed or convenience store locations, SNAP becomes a big part of their P&L, because when people can't spend it on the food that they should be buying, like nutritional food, groceries, right, food to support their family, they will use it on other SNAP-enabled items like donuts, which there are a lot of efforts to try to get some of the non-nutrition or unnutritional items out of SNAP program. But it allows people who have money or a balance in their SNAP account to use it on things like that, right? So I could go in and buy soda. I could buy donuts. I could buy, other things. Like SNAP does not apply to hot prepared meals. So you can't go to a fast food restaurant and use SNAP, but you can go to a convenience store. You can go to a donut shop, those types of things to use your allotment, right? And we came away from that as saying, this is a real problem, right? How do we solve this? Because the whole purpose of SNAP is to be able to get people back on their feet, to be able to support them with nutritious food, right? Because we know that hunger leads to a lot of things, right? I learned this from Shop LC, is to say that when we did our support of midday meal programs through 1 for 1, it's like, in certain countries, including our own, people have to decide if they're going to send their kids to school so that they can at least not worry about them getting food, right? Or they're forced to not go to school and work. And then they have this decision, like think about a hungry child and how they have to think about studies, right? How can they concentrate on work when they're doing that, right? When they're hungry. And so for us, it was more about how can we take the best of what we do, which is fully enabled commerce solutions, conversational AI, and how can it help in hunger relief, right? You think about engaging neighbors, helping them through all of their trials and tribulations, but also providing them access to the things, the nutritious food that they need, they deserve, right? And an experience that is, I'm trying to find the right word, but it's about an equitable solution, right? And having dignity, right? Because as you can imagine, people who are on food stamps or SNAP EBT or food insecure, right? There's a stigma that comes with that when you're using food stamps or SNAP EBT. And so how can we give them the same experiences that you and I enjoy, where we can go to a grocery store, right? And we can order online and pick up in store, or we can have it delivered to our home. And then how can we help them understand what all the benefits that are available to them and qualify them, right? Pre-qualify them to say, yeah, you could be a fit for these benefit programs that they may not know that even exist. And so that's where the conversational AI and the commerce platform pointed towards food insecurity. But it can be used for lots of other things, right? Because people who are food insecure probably are medical insecure, meaning like they don't have access to medical coverage, they don't have access to housing, they don't have access to jobs. Those types of things are all kind of an envelope that kind of goes around those insecure populations, right? And so, and food banks and food pantries have been slogging it out for over 100 years, doing food hunger relief the same way, right? Is giving away free food. People walk into their doors, and if they walk into their doors, they try to help them the best way they can. They're phenomenal organizations that work really hard and try really hard to help them. But how can we help them get to the neighbors that aren't walking through their door?
Right.
And that's where commerce and conversational AI come in.
I see. I see two components of what you're describing. One is, of course, the technology, and then there's also the social mission, right? So there's a social mission, or what I would loosely call it's a mission-driven type of project.
Mm-hmm.
So there's two components. So based on this and at Foodbridge, tell me what was your approach to finding AI and e-commerce talent, which is the technology part, who could understand both the technical requirements and the social mission at the same time?
Yeah, so I think that we're a little bit unique, Carlos, in that regard. As I mentioned, Foodbridge was born out of two technology companies that were in conversational AI and commerce. So we had access to the talent, right? But it was really finding the right talent within the two of those organizations, right? And those two organizations were about the opportunity to concentrate on their work to do something that is good. So from the conversational AI folks, right, we had the talent there to do it. They were already doing a lot of work in the food insecurity space because their founder also came out of food insecurity. So think about an organization where you have executives or partners like myself, like some of the partners that we have who came from food insecurity. So there's a passion and an understanding about what that is like, to have empathy. And then to find the talent to say, how can we build out an organization of people who support that mission, and also are really good with empathy, because we're going to be talking to a lot of folks in the food insecurity space, both from the hunger relief organizations as well as direct neighbors, right, government, et cetera. And how do we apply that to this solution? And so I think that, we didn't have to go out and find that talent. It was more about internally, how could we find the talent within those two organizations, the technology company, that were the right fit for what we're doing with Foodbridge, right? That we have the opportunity to do something really unique in this space, and that have a passion and energy and the capacity to support it.
I sense that you have some, excuse me, I sense you have what I call a servant leadership philosophy, right? And so how has this philosophy influenced your approach to recruiting and retaining top tech talent across different organizations?
Yeah, I think that, from a servant leadership perspective, and you're right. I remember when Servant Leadership, as the book, came out, and I remember it being a big part of a lot of corporate conversations, right, about how can you be a better servant leader. And I think it really came out of, not everyone is a fit for every solution that you come up with. So, when you're talking to individuals, say in a one-on-one setting, right, with your employees, especially technical teams, is to say, like, we always take we take for granted the knowledge and expertise that technical people have, but we don't sometimes take the opportunity to find out what drives them as a person, as an individual. What is their why, right? Going back to that climate thing, right? And saying, and if if their why is to, I want to make a difference. And we see this in the younger generations today, right? That people who they're going to college and they're trying to find a fit that is meaningful to them. And so when we had this opportunity to go after food insecurity, it's really about talking to all of the talent that you have in your organization and say, who truly has a passion and energy for making a difference outside of just the bits and bytes, right, of a technology organization, but more about making a difference. And that's really where that came out of, is just having one-on-one conversations, finding the people who have not only the talent, but the passion to do something different.
Absolutely, absolutely. What about mentoring and empowerment? What role do they play in your approach to developing the technical talent within your organization?
Yeah, I think that, from a mentoring perspective, I think it's just more of, I don't come from, technology. I don't think anybody would want me to code anything. However, I'm good at product management. I'm good at understanding why. And I think from a mentor perspective, it's more of, don't try to be something you're not. And then also give them the tools and, the opportunity to have conversation about what drives them, and then explain a little bit about the mission, because I think that once an individual is connected to a mission, it drives their work, their productivity, their drive a lot differently when they feel like they're connected to something. And so you just really have to continue to leverage that in all of your conversations with them, is to talk about how can you build something, but always keeping the end user in mind, but also the person who is supporting that end user. So like in the Hunger Relief organization, don't just build something that could reach a lot of people like neighbors, right? But also build it simple enough that it understands. So for example, our conversational AI is at a 3rd grade reading level. It's not that the reason for that is because the audience that we're trying to reach, you're trying to make it as simple as possible so that they can understand the flow, right? If you make it too complicated, they won't engage. And the other part of that was to understand the trials and tribulations that a lot of these hunger relief organizations face, right? They don't have huge staffs. Typically, they're run by volunteers. They're run by people who are going a million miles an hour in nonprofits. So you've got to make the tools to support that solution as simple to use as possible, right? That they can quickly get in and quickly. So that from a technical staff perspective, you have to constantly remind them, put their minds inside that worker and the neighbor that they're trying to support.
Great, absolutely. So, Kevin, this is fascinating because, I'm listening to you, and you've done such great work with great impact. But if you have also worked across Fortune 500 and startup environments, so I'm wondering, how does your talent strategy differ when scaling established versus emerging tech initiatives?
I think that the difference is just more about, in large organizations, things tend to take longer, right? And because again, you have a hierarchy and a structure, right, where everybody has a vested interest. You don't want to do the wrong thing, because that big bet can be a very impactful to that company. But people forget that in startups, that big bet can be even more impactful. It could be the difference in that startup scaling or closing. And I think that there's a little bit more sense of urgency, right, in the smaller organization when you talk about digital transformation, about getting people to buy in on building out solutions to be truly innovative. I ran innovation for Fortune 50 brands, right? And I feel very fortunate that we were supported a lot in those organizations. But that innovation can take time. It's a lot more of ruling by committee, because you got to make sure you check all the boxes, right? Because when you're in big organizations, you've got legal considerations, you've got people considerations, you obviously got business considerations. I think in the startup world, you have all of those things, but you're willing to take some bets that in large organizations you may not do, right? Now, the flip side of that is in bigger organizations, you have the capital to go after, right? There's this security blanket that you have where you're accessing the greater good of the economy of that company to be able to build out solutions, right? In a startup world, you got to go out and get it, right? You got to bootstrap. You got to do whatever you can to build those proof of concepts to come back to say, let's keep iterating, let's keep improving until we get to a solution that we think is ready for the market.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. Kevin, we're unfortunately we're coming up on time. You know, they say that time flies when you're having a great time. So that leaves room for only one more question on my end, and then we're going to wrap it up. So that question is, when launching innovative platforms like those at Foodbridge, how do you identify talent who can work effectively in ambiguous or rapidly changing environments?
I think it really comes down to, again, being really crystal clear on your mission and what you're trying to drive. And then the talent that has that equal drive or passion, right? Again, when you're having a conversation with these individuals, it's about finding the right people who have the same desire to change the world like you do. And that's what I really feel like. We're changing the world because food insecurity is a world problem. It's not just a US problem, right? People forget that a lot of times food insecurity only exists in third world countries, but we have a lot of food insecurity here, right? We have 42 million people on SNAP today, right? So think of that in a population of 300 million. That's a lot, right?
Yeah.
So it does exist here. We have food deserts all over our country, nutritional food deserts, right? If you put a map around a geography, you probably could find it would be bloated with fast food restaurants and that type of stuff. But when you talk about access to nutritious food, those little pockets of zip codes and all of that are very bare. So when you're looking for talent and trying to engage, right, they need to understand that problem and have a passion to solve that problem.
Absolutely. And yeah, I believe that also we can have the drive to change the world. We might not have the bandwidth to do it all, but at least one veggie wrapper at a time, we can probably accomplish something, right?
That's right, because Foodbridge is using some pretty phenomenal technology, not to try to turn them into something they're not, but just to make them more efficient, productive, and to help as many people as they can, right? It's about giving a hand up, right? Not a hand out. And so that applies to your people, that applies to your neighbors, that applies to everyone.
I love that, what you said, a hand up and not a handout. That's incredible. I'm going to quote you on that one. So
I could say that was mine, but it's not.
Well, I mean, it can be quoted anyways, and it's still going to be as effective, right? So Kevin, it's been great to have you. So please, how can people get a hold of you? Where do they find you?
Yeah, so you can check out our website. It's myfoodbridge.com. You can reach me. It's pretty simple, kevin@myfoodbridge.com. You can email me. You can reach me on my LinkedIn profile, which I believe you're going to have up here as well.
Here, below.
Yeah, and I have a booking link there where you can schedule time with me, and I'd be more than happy to talk about what we're doing at Foodbridge.
Great,
because we are just the tip of the iceberg with our proof of concepts that we're doing in some locations today. We've launched our AI solution in several hunger relief organizations, but we're ready to not only help the hunger relief organizations today, we're also ready to help government. We're also to help our private-public partnerships who have a vested interest in nutrition. The U.S. spent over $1 trillion last year in medical costs due to malnutrition. So this is not just a food insecurity; it's a national security issue.
I totally agree with you. So let's just stay healthy as much as possible, right? Eating the right things, and with the help of these types of initiatives, we can accomplish something really, really great. Kevin, it's been great to have you on the show. I'm going to ask you to stick around as we make a quick announcement, and then we're going to go off the air. But please, Kevin, stick around with us for a little bit. And so what I wanted to say, folks, if you're watching, I want to make a quick announcement because next week, right here on Advancio Talks, we are going to be having another great tech-themed conversation with Anjana Desai. She's the founder and CEO of Juntrax. Juntrax is an all-in-one cloud-based integrated business operations solution designed to simplify workflows for small and medium-sized enterprises. So that's what's going to be happening right here on Advancio Talks. Same time, Wednesday, 11 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, 10 Pacific. With that being said, again, Kevin, thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Carlos. It was great to be here.
Great. Folks, see you next time.